Hey guys, you know what the easiest shot is in tennis? It's the backhand slice. But I'm not talking about the technical part of the slice. It is actually quite challenging. I'm talking about physically. What is the least physically demanding shot in tennis? And it is absolutely the one-handed backhand slice. Now, if you want to learn how to hit a backhand slice, I have several great videos on that. There's a lesson with Shamir that's fantastic where I teach Shamir how to properly hit a one-handed backhand slice. So when we're talking about technique, there's going to be a few things that you need to keep in mind. You definitely want to hit the modern one-handed backhand slice, not the classic one where you're trying to clear a table that's in front of you like this. That's old school. You don't want that. You can get slice that way, don't get me wrong. If you have a slightly open racket face, even going forward, it will create slice. But the better way to do it is the modern way, in which you are going to hit across the ball, and the movement of the racket is going to be high to low and then back up to high. I often compare this with the letter U. You're going to start above the level of your left shoulder if you happen to be right-handed. You're going to go down towards the ball, and now you're going to go back up to the level of your right shoulder in relation to your right hand, which ends up looking like a letter U. Take a look. It goes from here to here. Now, what you also have to keep in mind is that the slice needs to be hit with a more neutral racket face. While you can get slice with an open racket face, often at the recreational level, it will result in a ball that sits up a little bit too high. Now, it can get a little bit complex because we can also get a low trajectory with an open racket face, for example, on a chip return, but that's a subject for another video. Generally speaking, if you hit your slice with a big swing with a racket face that's too open, it's going to result in a ball that sits up and can be attacked by your opponent. So what you need to understand is how slice is created at the high level, and that is by going high to low with the racket. So if we go from a high position to a low position, the ball will spin this way, and that creates underspin. And you don't need an open racket face to make the ball spin this way. In actuality, the more neutral the racket face is, the lower the trajectory of the ball will be, and the more power you will get on your slice. And how do you achieve a more neutral racket face at contact? Intuitively, well, you're going to have to make the timing a little bit delayed on the slice. What I teach is to make contact slightly in front of the tip of your front foot. I'm right-handed, so it's going to be my right foot. So if I make contact here, naturally, the racket face is going to be more neutral. The more in front I go, naturally, the more the racket face opens up. Now, all this stuff that I just explained is by no means easy. In fact, if you're at the lower recreational levels, you're going to have a hard time learning this shot. I'm going to be honest with you. It's a shot that's difficult to learn, and I would actually recommend that you wait until you reach the 3.0 level to start incorporating this slice backhand into your practices, especially if you happen to have a two-handed backhand and are not very comfortable playing the backhand with one arm. However, what is easy is how this shot is hit. It's easy on the body, and I'm going to explain to you why. If we're talking about the forehand, we are swinging up. If we're talking about the one-handed or the two-handed backhand, we are swinging up. If we're talking about the serve, we are swinging up towards the ball. The one-handed backhand slice is a shot where we are swinging down. So the racket will pick up a lot of momentum from going high to low. Also, it is a shot where the racket head can be below the angle of the handle when it's struck. This will often result in side spin, but these two shots are in the same family. It's very similar shots. You cannot hit a backhand topspin shot where the racket head drops below the level of the hand. You could do it. High-level players are able to do this, but it feels very awkward to do. When it comes to the backhand side, you want that racket to be at least neutral to your grip, so the racket head needs to be in a neutral position related to the handle, or it can actually be slightly above the handle on balls that are higher. On the slice, however, you can very comfortably make contact with the racket head a little bit lower, and this will not influence your slice in a negative way. So for those two reasons, the fact that we're going high to low and that we can angle the racket more downwards means that this shot is what I call the lazy shot. So a lot of players don't bend, they just drop the racket head down, they go high to low, and they hit the ball like this, and they're able to achieve slice. So it's not very demanding on the body, and therefore I call this the lazy shot. And don't misunderstand me, I want you to try hard on your slice. I don't want you to hit it the lazy way. So are you still gonna have to bend? The same rules apply as on any other shot, that if the ball is low, you gotta stay low, and it's actually not that great of an advantage to hit a slice where the racket head drops down. This is not optimal. If you get a low ball, the best thing you can do is to get really low on that slice and still keep that neutral position of the racket head. Because what will happen if you have your racket position in this way is that you have more range of motion. You can swing down more than if you're already down when you make contact. This doesn't leave you a lot of room to go across the ball. So what ends up happening with a lot of players is that any ball they get on the backhand side, they end up slicing it. And this becomes such a bad habit that even if these players practice a one-handed backhand or a two-handed backhand, they are so comfortable, they are so used to hitting backhand slices, is something that's very difficult to get rid of in a match situation. So if you're one of those players, the immediate thing that you can do is improve your energy level on the slice, which will improve your slice. So don't be too loose, don't be too relaxed, don't be low intensity when you're hitting your slices. Put some effort into them. Bend your knees, accelerate a little bit faster, make sure that you have the correct mechanics. In the long term, what's going to happen if you only slice, this will be a disadvantage. Yes, I know there's some elite level players like Steve Johnson who only slice the backhand. Yes, this can work, of course, but generally speaking, it is a disadvantage because the slice is going to be the slowest shot in your repertoire. It's going to be hit way slower than a one-handed backhand, a two-handed backhand, and a forehand, and especially the serve. I saw an interesting stat, and that was the average forehand speeds on the WTA Tour. And you know who had the slowest forehand by far? It was Monica Niculescu. And why is that? Because she only hits forehands with a slice. So if you fall into the trap of only hitting the easiest shot in tennis, which is the slice, I understand why you're doing it, because it's an effortless way to play, but you have to realize that you're gonna have a hard time being aggressive on that side, and you have to break this muscle memory and do not allow yourself to hit any slices in practice. I play a lot of players who only slice in matches. So what I tell them, you are not allowed to hit any slices when you're practicing with me. Everything needs to be hit either with a one-hander or a two-hander. Whatever backhand you have, you need to avoid the slice and rip your backhand shots. What I was able to do with some of my players is, after a few years of completely avoiding the slice in practice, this eventually clicked, and in a match there was enough muscle memory there was enough trust there, enough confidence to finally start hitting backhands in match situations. So guys, there it is. You know that the backhand slice is the easiest shot in tennis when we're talking about how much effort it takes. And I'm sure you're wondering, hey Nick, what is the most physically demanding shot in tennis? And I can tell you without the shadow of a doubt, the most physically demanding shot in tennis is an overhead that's hit while the player is moving backwards. There's nothing in tennis that is more exhausting. And the exact reason why this is the case, I'm going to cover in a future video.